Hello out there. We're on the air. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. We got our co-host here today. Oh, what happened here? Zapstream didn't work. Uh-oh. We can't leave out the Zapstream, that's for sure. Let me try something here quickly. I wonder why that didn't work. Server URL, stream key. Okay, let's try that. Okay, edit. Shoot. Sorry, folks. Well, I'm going to start the show and we're going to see. I'm going to remove that. Save. Okay, we're going to try something here quickly and then we're going to move on if it doesn't work. Did it work? Hey, it worked. That's a good start to the week. That's a great start to the week. All right. Good morning, everybody. Oh, that makes me happy. We're on the Zaps and we are live. Welcome to another edition, another episode of the Daily Bitcoin Journey. We have our co-host here today. We got Arnie. Say hi, Arnie. Okay. He had a big weekend. He had a big weekend. We spent most of the day outside yesterday. God, it was beautiful. It's nice. It's like mid-September right now. It's like 30 degrees. Very hot out yesterday. But we pulled the majority of stuff out of the garden. Did some yard work. Hung out with Arnie for the day. It was a great weekend. I love those kind of weekends. So anyways, what the heck's going on here? We had quite the crash over the weekend since we talked last. We dropped all the way down to what, 52,000? I don't know what it was, but it wasn't good if you're hoping to sell it over the weekend. But we got Timber Crasher here this morning. Good morning, my friend. One of our Bitcoin journeymen. We got Django, another Bitcoin journeyman. If you would like to become one of the Bitcoin journeymen, it's very easy to do. You just go to the main channel here, 88 Sats Radio on YouTube, and you can click join. $3 a month, $3. And you might want to today too. We got a good second half of the show today. I'm not going to give it away yet, but it's going to be a good one. We're going to be talking about business stuff, business ideas, and more. But business ideas, it's going to be more of a focus, I think, going forward on this channel in one way or the another. But we're going to start it today. Muslim Bitcoiner, Assalam, I want more pain this September. I enjoy cheap sats, but I enjoy melting scam coins into oblivion even more. Scam coins like ETH, Solana, etc. It's funny, we've been talking about Ethereum on this channel for a long time, taking a lot of heat from the Ethereum crowd because I like making clips after. I know no Ethereum watchers are watching the live show of this. So I like making clips every time we talk about Ethereum and how shitty it is. And there's always Ethereum bros in the comments. Somebody attacked me pretty hard, actually. I'm still paying the price for that one. But I made an Ethereum video talking about how it's going to zero against Bitcoin, which it is. I haven't changed my mind on that at all. In fact, it's a little more conviction nowadays. But they've somehow, I mean, I'm fairly public with my email address, which is probably a bad thing, but they must have used some sort of AI software or tool, and they signed me up for like 100 or 200 different email lists. So I've managed to delete the majority of them, but like every time I would open up my phone, there'd be like 100 messages in the spam folder from all these different email addresses. And I managed to unsubscribe myself to most, but this is like what I have: Trust Flow Links, Expert Control Joint Unit, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, Payment System Regulations, National Institute of Health, Veterans Health, CMS Medical Learning, United States Department of Labor. So they signed me up for all these fucking mailing lists. It was a well done prank or trick, whatever you want to call it. But what a piss off that was for a while. Cold Deck with an E. Good morning, Jason and Silver Fox. Good morning, fellas. All right, so over on Zap Stream, I see a few people over there. We got Mav and two others I can't see because they're just end pubs. Oh, there we go. Ahsoka, and Noah. So today is Monday, which means it's for the dogs. See if I can update that. So we'll see if this works. Any amount zapped today? Yes, there we go. So we got 30,000 in there already. It's working today. So today is for our guys like Arnie, the rescue dogs. So we set up a little fund for these guys. And every Monday, all the zaps from zap.stream go towards the rescue dogs. So if you're watching on YouTube, consider hopping over to zap.stream and sending some zaps for Arnie. And not Arnie, but rescue dogs. Arnie's friends. Okay, what's going on in the mempool today? The show is titled Betting on Bitcoiners. And it's going to be a little bit of a conversation I'm going to have during this part of the show, I believe, if we can get through it. So 2 sats per V-byte. Wow. I think that's the lowest we've seen in a very long time. I don't think I've seen a 1 for a while. If it gets down to 1, I'm just going to have to send a Bitcoin transaction just to support the miners, I think. Miners are hurting right now. I wouldn't want to be a miner right now. That's for sure. So we're currently sitting at block height 860,611. And as mentioned there, the sats very, very low. 2 sats per V-byte if you're transacting on the Bitcoin layer 1. So Marapool picked that last one up. Let's see how much they made off the fees. 2 million sats. Pretty tough. Pretty tough. $1,600 for that one. So not ideal. The hash price, I think, is at an all-time low, which isn't what you want to see as a miner. I see Plunger over there, and I see there's a zap from My Path to Fire, our good buddy whose chats never show up in there. So thank you for the zap over there for the dogs, My Path to Fire. So I'm going to open this one up here and see, where is that? Hold on, we're hurting right now. The internet's hurting right now. Okay, I wanted to start the show with this one today, and this is probably geared towards the Canadians more than anyone, but at the same time, I think this is going to be relevant to everybody. So this is a video I saw on Twitter yesterday, and it's 2 minutes long, but this is from 2022, and I think that the Freedom Convoy and everything that happened here in Canada was so, we'll look back in a couple decades and realize how important that was for Canada and for really a lot of countries around the world, but for Canada especially, and for Bitcoin as well, because you have to keep in mind when this was all happening with the Freedom Convoy, there was a lot of people who disagreed with the Freedom Convoy. And so when they were going through Canada on their way to Ottawa, there was a movement put in place and assisted by the government to try to stop their funding. So basically, as this convoy was going along, people who were in support of the convoy against the mandates that they were trying to put in place, they were donating to the truckers. They were donating for fuel, for food, for all this stuff to help their mission, to further their mission. And the government got in the way and said, no, we're not having any of this. We're actually going to freeze their bank accounts. And so what happened is that people started sending in Bitcoin. And I'm pretty sure that like 70% of the Bitcoin reached 0%. Well, I shouldn't say 0%, but a lot of the funding was cut off. There was a GoFundMe that was stopped. There was a few other fundraising initiatives that were stopped, but the Bitcoin got through. And I really don't think that there was a whole lot of Canadians, especially, that really clued into that. I've listened to so many interviews, so many presentations through the last couple of years of people from around the world who understood the importance of Bitcoin in this scenario and how important Bitcoin can be for things like this. So this was a speech. I wanted to share this morning. It's 2 minutes long, but very good. A guy by the name of Brian Peckford, I believe. Oh, what happened here? Fucking X. Shitty. I can't wait till everyone's only on NOSTR. Holy cow, that was loud. Okay, so let's watch this. This is from the Convoy for Freedom 2022. And we got to turn down the volume a bit, or just as a heads up, it's kind of loud.
And we're not going to allow this nation on the northern part of North America to go down the drain because we have people who've gotten hungry for power and have discarded the individual freedoms that you and I own. They are ours. There's none two of us the same. That's why individual rights and freedoms are so important, right? Because it's you as a person. You as an individual, not you as a family, not you as a group, okay? Not you as part of some other organization, not you as part of the province. It's you as an individual Canadian. Possess these rights. That's what's important.
Okay, well, I didn't expect that this Monday morning, but I think it's just a good reminder of why we're here more than anything. I don't want to talk about it too much because I can tell that I'm going to get quite emotional here with this whole thing, but that was I remember being part. No, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to go there. We're going to save that. But it is important. This is the kind of stuff that this is the reason why we're here. We're not here to get rich and We're not here for the number to go up and to sell it next week and go back to the way things were. We're never going back to that world, ever. And I think we need reminders like that once in a while of why we're doing this, why we're in Bitcoin, why we're spending so much time and energy talking about it, putting our energy into it. Like, why are we doing that? And it's for things like that, for not only for protests against the government, but for the future, for people for kids now to have a better life in 20 years from now under a Bitcoin standard. That's why we're doing this. And so that governments, including Canada's, do not ever have the ability again. We can't ever let that happen again. While we're around, anyways. I mean, we can't control the forever aspect of things here, but while we're around, we have to make sure that there's nothing like that can ever happen again. And there was a lot of bad that came from it, but I think that there was a lot of good from it. And I thank Trudeau a lot. As much damage as he's done to our country, I thank Trudeau a lot for waking people up to a lot of this stuff. Because, if we just would have carried on as normal, even if they wouldn't have pushed that hard, we would just be going through the same thing over and over again. In 10 years, there'd be another collapse. And in 10 years, and the can would just be, keep being kicked down the road. But we have the ability now. We have the tools to stop that from ever happening again. So, again, I don't want to get too far into that, because that was such a life-changing thing for me, really. And when I was part of that, it was a day that I'll never forget, a feeling that I'll never forget. And there wasn't a whole lot of people at that time in my life that I could really, talk to about that kind of stuff or share that feeling with. I was with my mom and dad when we were going through, I think it was Medicine Hat and then through Regina. But up until that point, I felt like I was the only one who felt that way in the world. And to see cars along the highway, to see the convoy itself go through there, to see just how much it meant to people, it just seemed like there was a lot of people who also felt like that, who finally had that feeling of like, okay, well, maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe these things that the way I feel right now, maybe I'm not insane for it. And I feel like people just kind of had that relief that we weren't the only one, because we were isolated for very long here. There was a time in Canada where if you didn't have what they wanted, you couldn't go into a restaurant. You couldn't go to birthday parties. You couldn't go to weddings. It was at the point where I would have had to miss my little brother's wedding because of that. That's how far they pushed it. And thank God it changed, or the wedding got canceled because of the restrictions. And then by the time they rescheduled it, we were back. So it's important. That's the whole reason we're here. That's what led me to Bitcoin. And I think that's important to kind of just keep that in mind going forward, is that's the reason we're here. To make sure that shit like that never happens again. So anyway, sorry about that. It was dark times, but it led me here. It led probably a lot of us to this point. And I'm sure that looking back, as painful as that time was and as dark as it was, I think we're going to be thankful it did happen at some point. We're not there yet. Anyways, on a lighter note, on a better note, let's give away some Bitcoin here for Bitcoin Well. From Bitcoin Well. So get your phones out. This is a contest we do here every day on the show from Bitcoin Well, courtesy of Bitcoin Well, and we give away Bitcoin. So get your phones out. Get your Lightning wallets out. I suggest Wallet of Satoshi if you have the ability. It just seems to be the fastest for winning these competitions. So here we go. Get your phone out, get your wallet out, and point it at the screen. Why do they keep teasing me with these unclaimed sats? There's no sats there. Okay, here she goes. 500 sats. Who's the lucky winner today? Who's taking home the sats? Have they been claimed? See how quick you guys are today. Yeah. Wow. Pretty impressive. We've been doing this for a couple months now, I think. And every day I scan it not too long after we post it. And it's always been claimed. So you guys are fast. Guys and girls, I guess, not guys. You're fast. Good to see. So congrats to whoever won the 500 sats today. Make sure you do something good with that. Cold Deck says, Peckford is great, which is the guy who was speaking there at the start, Brian Peckford. He's the last guy standing that wrote our Canadian charter. Yeah, and he did have a big impact on everything that was happening there. But we need more guys like Brian Peckford. That's somebody we should all strive to be. And kind of the point of today's show is betting on Bitcoiners and people like Brian. I don't know if he's a Bitcoiner or not, but he definitely shares the same values and the same longer term vision as Bitcoiners do. Rick says, have you smashed the like yet? That's a good question. Let's check that out quickly. We did everything pretty smooth today. We got her posted to NOSTR. The only thing I realized I'm missing is the private show today. Likes are down today. Likes are down. But zaps are not. We got Noah zapped 1,000 sats for Arnie and his friends. That one's for Arnie and his friends. Plunger zapped 210 sats. Aletha zapped 1,000 sats. Good morning. And Noah says, aw, Jor. No reason for awes. It's just, it's impossible to fight emotions like that when they come screaming up. But anyways, let's carry on here. Let's carry on. We got another video to watch. This one's of our good friend, Andreas Antonopoulos. And this was when he was on Joe Rogan. And what I really want to see in the not so distant future is I want to see somebody else on Joe Rogan. I think that a good candidate would probably be Jack Mallers. Jack Dorsey's been on there before. He seems to, there's different directions that Jack can go into. Or Saylor. I think Saylor and Rogan would be an awesome conversation. I think that nobody else really goes as deep into topics as Rogan does, for the most part. I mean, not every show, but like a 2 or 3 hour conversation with Saylor and just blow Rogan's mind. I think Rogan's already a Bitcoiner, but I think it would be really good because he would ask questions that people like us have to Saylor. I think that's why Rogan's become so popular, is because he asks the questions that the normal people want to know. He doesn't pretend to be somebody he's not. He just asks questions. So let's watch this. This is from Andreas Antonopoulos, and he's kind of talking about, as this tweet suggests, this was I'd imagine 5 or 6 years ago now, but the tweet says Andreas was 100% right. This is exactly what's happening in our society right now. So this one's 3 minutes long, but definitely worth to listen to, and then we'll discuss after.
Or a lot. The problem is we are going to a digital currency society where cash will be gradually eradicated, either through non-use, or a lot of countries and a lot of governments are trying to actively ban it. So they're putting limits on how much you can use cash. Say, $1,000, and if it's more than $1,000, using cash is illegal. When we go to the society, we have to really think about the implications. Do we want a society in which our digital money is under complete surveillance and complete control, where if you go to the wrong protest, or if you support the wrong political campaign, or if you make a payment to the wrong person or receive money from the wrong person, suddenly your money disappears. It's no longer yours anymore. It's frozen, it's seized, it's gone. And someone has control of that. Corporations, banks, governments, and in most cases, there is no difference between corporation, bank, and government, right? And so that's one scenario. And the other scenario is one in which individuals control their money. And it is digital money, but it's digital cash like Bitcoin, where you can pay an individual from one person to another, just like I can with cash today, without any other party getting involved. What really strikes me as amazing is that we've gotten used to this idea so quickly, which is that we no longer pay people. We no longer pay people directly. The less we use cash, the more we pay people through a corporation, right? So from tipping your valet to tipping your taxi driver to tipping wherever, tipping is pretty much the last remaining part of our society where cash is used to pay from one person who is not an incorporated entity to another person who is not an incorporated entity. Everything else you have to pay through a corporation, whether it's a bank, right? Whether it's Venmo, whether it's PayPal, whether it's any of those things. And we've gradually gotten used to this environment where we can't pay another person unless there's a corporation involved. And that's astonishing to me. And as cash disappears, that then becomes a final fact, that every single payment in your life will be from you to a corporation.
And that corporation takes a piece of that, every single thing.
And not just that, it doesn't just take a piece, it also controls and surveils and monitors your use. And if you violate the terms and conditions, you are destitute.
Wow.
So the issue is not what we have today versus the digital currency of the future or Bitcoin or whatever. It's both futures are digital currency, and in both futures, cash will no longer exist. That is inevitable. We are going down that road, and now we have to choose. Do we go to the digital cashless society of corporate control over money with the complete and total merging of corporate and state money, where instead of having separation of state and money, you have the merging of state and money and corporation and money, where your money is branded money? You have Chase dollars, you have Goldman Sachs dollars, you have Coca-Cola dollars, right? You have money that is controlled by a corporation. Or do we go down the other future, where we have money that is basically an internet protocol that is completely global, that any person can pay any person, they meet in the streets without any corporations getting involved, just from me to you, digital cash. And that's really it's a less optimistic view, because I'm fully aware of what the other future is, and it's already playing out. And it is in my opinion, a very dangerous future.
Kind of going back to what I was talking about there in terms of, the Freedom Convoy stuff, the things that happened here in Canada that led me to Bitcoin. That's what the specific part of it that led me to Bitcoin was, that aspect of it. I could see what they were doing with the passports, the digital IDs, the digital currencies. I could see where that was going to go to. And I knew that I was somebody, just knowing myself well, knowing where I stood with everything. And what I learned in the last little while, knowing where I stood there, I knew that I was not going to be somebody who was able to just do whatever I wanted in that world. And I know that I would be somebody who probably would have my accounts frozen, or I would have my energy bill or utility shut off for the month, whatever it is. I knew that I wasn't somebody that was just going to comply with things for the sake of complying and keeping my lights on. I knew that I wasn't that person. And so I started looking into different options. And the one that obviously stood out most to me was this Bitcoin thing. Everything else, nothing came close to that. Once you understand what Bitcoin is and what it wants to do, on the Bitcoin white paper, it says at the top, peer-to-peer electronic cash. That's what Bitcoin is. That's what it was designed to do. I know it's turned into a whole bunch of different things. We got Wall Street here. We got governments talking about it. The big banks are going to be holding it. But from the very principle of Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer electronic cash, which to me is the equivalent of handing somebody a $20 bill, where you earn that somehow. Something you did in your life, you added enough value that somebody paid you $20, or you stole it. I don't know. But you had that $20 and you exchanged that value to somebody else. And nobody else knew about that at all. Your bank didn't know about it. The government didn't know about it. Nobody else knew that you gave that person that $20 bill. And that's the world that we need to get to in the digital sense. And I think that Bitcoin does have the ability to facilitate that like nothing else. And an example of that would be, and I was just talking with her right before the show because I need a haircut today, or not today, but this week. So a perfect example of that is with your hairdresser. So you get your haircut, they charge you your normal amount, and then you give them a tip. And usually people give them $10, $5, $20, their hairdresser, whatever it is. But that's the exchange of cash. That's why hairdressers love cash so much, because they don't have to claim that amount. Nobody knows that I gave her that $20 bill. So when I was explaining Bitcoin to her a couple months ago, I said it's the exact same thing with Bitcoin. If I have sats in my wallet of Satoshi, and the beauty of this, starting kind of from square one here, and I think that this is where things are going to evolve from in the future, but you get onto NOSTR. This is the starting point here. You get onto NOSTR, you post, you talk about things that you're into. Other people find you. If they feel like they're adding value to them, they can send you Bitcoin. And your ID is not attached to that. Your phone number is not attached to that. So you accumulated that Bitcoin, those sats, without anybody knowing about that. They're not connected to you at all. So then you send it to your wallet of Satoshi, or if she's on NOSTR, you can zap her profile. But the wallet of Satoshi there, you could send it there and then give it to her. Send her 10,000 sats. And that process there, nobody knows that I have that money, and nobody knows that she has that money now. So that's what Bitcoin, that's what it was designed to do, to separate money from state and to be a peer-to-peer electronic cash. So just envision a world where everybody that you come in contact with all day has a wallet of Satoshi. And they're familiar with it. They're familiar with how to accept, how to send money. Everybody knows that's like the new wallet. So I think it was Adam last week he was talking about, he needed his bike tire filled up, I believe. So he went to a tire shop or someplace with air. They filled his tire. And he said, imagine if they would have had a wallet of Satoshi and I could have just sent them 2,000 sats. And then you go even further than that. So that whole process, that whole process of money, where I earned it on NOSTR for just adding value to the world. That's kind of what humans are supposed to do. So I earned that. Nobody knew I have that. I sent it to her. Nobody knows I sent it to her. Nobody knows she has it now. And then kind of further down the road is, then you start accumulating that. And one tool I've found in the last week or two was the Aqua wallet. So then you could just move that from your wallet of Satoshi into Aqua, and then eventually send it to your Sparrow wallet where nobody knows that you have it. Nobody will ever know that you have that. And then take it even one step further than that. And think about with Trump, with the different politicians, there's going to be countries who are against Bitcoin. There's going to be countries who are for Bitcoin. But think of a country like the US and put yourself in this scenario here where Trump gets elected and he's been talking about no tax on tips. So you go through that whole route there. And then, so you send it to your hairdresser, you maybe buy some meat with it, you buy some honey, you buy a new t-shirt. You go through that whole process there without anybody knowing that you have it. And then you pay somebody with it. And if there's no tax on tips, how do you differentiate a tip from normal business income? That's what I want to know. So if you go through that whole journey, think about what happens to income taxes over time here. Whether politicians are willing to adopt that in terms of no tax on tips and how to differentiate tips versus income, then where do the tax dollars come from? So it's this whole thing. And then you understand the fact that Bitcoin mining is going to actually supplement income taxes. We're going to move from human resources paying for government into natural resources, where we're using our waterfalls, our wind, our solar, our nuclear, everything that we have in terms of energy sources, converting that into Bitcoin and actually funding their operations with that instead of on the backs of citizens. So that's the whole journey from start to finish in terms of getting yourself out of the old system. That whole process there of earning money on NOSTR by adding value to others, paying for things with it, tipping people. Nobody knows you have it. Nobody knows they have it. You can go through that. The tools are already available for it. You just have to do it. But it's possible now. And this question here from Viet Thang Nugent. How do you believe in Bitcoin future and keep calm in this dark time? That's exactly how. You just have to understand what's available right now. And whether or not Trump gets elected, I think that's a different part of the story. But you still have the ability to earn Bitcoin without anybody knowing it, without actually putting in your ID, your driver's license, your passport, any information about yourself. You have the ability now to earn Bitcoin if you want to. It's not an easy thing to do. You have to put in the time, but that's part of the whole proof of work concept around Bitcoin, is that you have to put in the work, but it is possible at this time. We're not thinking about hypotheticals in the future. This scenario is possible today. So you earn that Bitcoin without anybody knowing about it. You can pay for things without anybody knowing it. And you can pretty much, over time, live your whole life without anybody knowing about it. That's the goal here for us. Whether you're paying, whether you're receiving, you can do that without the traditional fiat rails, without the government knowing. It's already here. So that's how you keep calm, is just use the tools that we have, keep using them, talking about it with your friends, and leading by example. I think that I saw a tweet. I wish I could find it right offhand, but I know that I won't be able to. But the moral of it was just like lead by example. You don't need to orange pill your friends. Just like live that and then tell the story about it. You don't have to tell them how many coins there are, how many coins are lost, anything about the decentralization of Bitcoin. Nobody gives a shit. How many conversations have you had with people where you're all excited about Bitcoin because you understand it, but they have no idea what the fuck you're talking about? And so you're telling them all these different things, thinking that they would be excited, but they don't hear any of it. Yeah, on the other side of it, you, instead of trying to convince people that they need Bitcoin, put that energy towards growing and adding value to people, building businesses within Bitcoin. And then just tell the story. Tell the story of how you're not, you don't have a bank account anymore, and you're still here. It is a long process to get there. It's not an easy one, but I think that your time and energy is much better spent trying to accomplish that, and then leading by example, showing people that it can be done. Not thinking about different hypotheticals, not overcomplicating things or trying to explain anything to them. Just lead by example, show them that it's possible to live outside that system. Because that is our goal with this channel, is not to be rich necessarily, but to exit the system, exit the matrix. As Michael Saylor says, Bitcoin is your ticket out of the matrix. And it's 100% true. Over on zap.stream, I see we got a new face here, slow, with a pretty slow looking profile pic there as well. Good to see you. I see My Path to Fire is there as well. I see his chats, which is good. Okay, so the next part of the show here, let me just catch up here. I saw a comment from Joaquin Lopez. Good morning from Spain. Good morning. Good to see you here. Cold Deck says, I've tried to tell this to friends. Most say, well, it's all digital anyways. They didn't understand the programmability of it. That's what I mean. They won't understand. Think about how much time and energy you put into trying to figure out Bitcoin before it clicked with you. It's not something that happens by watching a half-hour video or having a 10-minute conversation with somebody over a beer. Nothing comes from that. So the one thing that you can do is just lead by example and take steps every day in your own life to slowly remove yourself from that system and then show others that it's possible. Emmett says we can't use Wallet Satoshi in the line of the free. Are you sure? You just need a different phone, I think. I think you need Android. I'm pretty sure you can use Wallet Satoshi on Android. Trump said he will get rid of taxes, but raise the price of tariffs so goods that were $3 would be $7. Yeah, I saw that he's going to be taxing 100% tariffs if people aren't using the dollar. Is that good? Probably not. But at the same time, the reason why Trump has become so popular and why there's so many people who truly admire the man is because he's putting his country first. So I think that every step, every move that he makes, and every action he does is going to be for the benefit of America. And if other countries have to pay a little bit more, if other countries receive a little bit less from the US, it's in the best interest of the citizens. And you have no idea how much I would give to have a president or a prime minister who actually did things for the country, for the citizens of that country. Because right now we have somebody in Canada who pretty much does the exact opposite of that. Anything that's good for Canadians, he does the opposite of that. Anything that benefits Ukraine or people wanting to come over to Canada, no issues with that. He's pretty good at that. But he does not give a shit about his own citizens. But the thing to keep in mind here, even going back to this comment here, how to believe in Bitcoin future and keep calm. Governments are temporary. You have to keep that in mind. Governments are temporary. Policies are temporary. Bitcoin is not temporary. It's been going for how many blocks? 860,616 blocks have been mined. And it will keep going forever as long as people are running nodes using Bitcoin. It will continue forever. So it doesn't really matter who's in power today in what country. Unless all the governments were to coordinate action, every single government on earth were to coordinate against Bitcoin, there's nothing that can be done to stop it. And so if you kind of go in with that mindset and understand how that works and how that plays out, then there's really no reason to worry. You just kind of have to manage your life and your cash flow to make sure you see the end of that, or the beginning, I guess, for a lot of people. Slow says, my experience, number go up is greater than the revolution in orange pilling. No, I agree with that. I think that the number go up thing is the thing that gets people interested. And in October, November, December, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that. I expect when Bitcoin really starts running, there's 29 people in here right now. I expect that to be double or triple, because that's what gets people interested in Bitcoin. And it's the people who are here now who have the opportunity to grow, to build, and to accumulate as much Bitcoin as they can before that happens. So number go up brings a lot of people in. It gets a lot of attention on Bitcoin, but it's the actual principles behind Bitcoin. There's going to be a small group of people from that number go up crew that stick around, and they'll be here in 4 years from now. Lots won't. Lots will buy it at the top, do it very irresponsibly, be forced to sell, and then be mad at Bitcoin for the next 5 years. Like, them being mad at Bitcoin is going to have any impact on the future of Bitcoin. But there will be a group who embrace Bitcoin. There'll be a lot of people who probably leave their job and understand how irrelevant it is. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. That alarm. We got Alexandru says it's fine to have number go up. If you expend more energy than you receive, you die. Number go up is fine. I have no issues with it. I have no issues with number going up. I have no issues with number going down. I have no issues with number staying the same. It doesn't matter. If it goes up, your net worth goes up. If it goes down, you get to buy more sats with your illusionary dollars. So to me, the fiat price, and that's kind of why we stopped talking about it so much on the show. It's completely irrelevant at this stage. Completely. So let's get to betting on Bitcoiners, and then we're gonna go to the second part of the show today. So this was something that happened. When was this? This would have been. I'm gonna have to go shut that off quickly. Maybe I'll do it at the end of the show. I'll shut the door for now. Our co-host already decided to ditch us today anyway, so it's a lot more echoey now. So betting on Bitcoiners, I'm not an NFL guy. I don't really watch any sports outside of golf, although I have been watching football now that I have some skin in the game. But we did a fantasy pool this year with sats. Second year we've done it. Last year was the first year. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't even know what a tight end was, a running back was. I knew nothing about football. But because Bitcoin was involved, I put some sats in. I picked a team, and I did pretty good. All things considered, for knowing absolutely nothing about football, I did pretty good. And so we did our fantasy league again this year. And the thing that I wanted to talk about here was I'm sure everybody here has been part of a fantasy football league or some sort of sports draft, but there's always rankings, right? So you have like your top 10 guys and then top 100 lists that you pick from. And so what I did this year, my strategy, I found a few Bitcoiners within the NFL, but so there's Saquon. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Saquon Barkley. So he made headlines a couple years ago when he announced that he was going to be holding or using half his salary. He's going to get paid in Bitcoin. I think he was the first NFL player to ask to be paid in Bitcoin. So I think it was a couple $1 million worth. Maybe I'll get some actual numbers here, so I'm not making these up. But anyways, he just signed another big contract with Philadelphia Eagles. Saquon Barkley Bitcoin. Look at this. This is such a classic headline. I'm glad we found this. So the title of this says, Saquon Barkley may have lost an insane amount of money on Bitcoin. And the article says, doesn't New York Giants running back Saquon Barkley have enough to worry about right now? Entering the final year of his contract, the former number 2 overall pick is hoping to have a monster 2022 season so that he can earn a major payday down the line. Well, thanks to the shocking drop in numbers for cryptocurrency, it looks like Barkley will have millions of more reasons to put on a show this fall in order to get a handsome amount of dough back during the off season. Last summer, Barkley revealed that he would be taking endorsement money from Nike and Pepsi and move it into Bitcoin for roughly 10 mil. Now, thanks to the drop, it looks like Barkley has lost around 5 million. Goodness. What's important to remember here, however, is that Barkley would have lost all that money if he decided to keep his money in Bitcoin. No one, other than those close to him, know whether or not he decided to ride with the ship or pull his money months ago and decided the investment wasn't worth the risk. I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that he did not sell any of that Bitcoin. So he took his endorsement money from Nike and Pepsi, 10 million bucks, bought Bitcoin. At this time, lost. That's what they love saying. People lose money just because the price goes down. $5 million. And today, I'm guessing that he's probably made $5 million off that at least. So the point of this story, though, this is what I want to talk about today, is that Barkley was rated like maybe 30th overall, 35, 40. He was way down the list, but I recognized his name from Bitcoin. I watched a show or an interview with him and Jack Mahler's not long ago. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this guy second overall because I don't know if he'll be around by the third round, by the time I get to pick again. So I took him second overall, which was like 10th, I think, in our draft. I got to pretty much pick back to back. So I took him quite early. But anyways, the game that he had, so he is, let me just find it here. So like I said, I lost the first week, but no thanks to Saquon. He did all that he could. He was projected to get 14 points. He ended up doubling that. He got 32 points for me. And he had 3 touchdowns in his first game with Philadelphia Eagles. And kind of the reason I'm sharing this story is because I want you to apply this to kind of everything in life. Because when you're investing with your time, with your energy, and just relationships like that, I want you to put this at the forefront of things, is to bet on Bitcoiners, whether that's an NFL player. And kind of the reason why this is my thought process here is because at that level, everybody's so good. There's so much talent, so much skill at these ranks in any sport, any professional league. So it's the very small things that separate people at that level. And so if you have two guys, you have two running backs side by side, and if I knew that one's a Bitcoiner and one's not, I'm going to take the Bitcoiner every time, because I already understand his values, his vision for the world, and his very low time preference. And that's what you want in football and in business and in your relationships. You want people, unlike politicians, who will say anything to spend another 4 years in office. You want people to be thinking 10 years down the road and 20 years down the road. And I guarantee that somebody who puts half their salary into Bitcoin has that same mentality. So the way they treat their body, the way they work out in the off season, the way they prepare for each game, I know that a Bitcoiner is going to do differently than a non-Bitcoiner. And so betting on Saquon here in a very, very small scale fantasy league is just one example of how you should be looking at things and looking at people and businesses. So whether that's your fantasy team, whether that's your pension, whether that's your relationships that you decide to spend your very scarce and precious time with, you should be betting on Bitcoiners. And so with your pension, you want to be looking at people like Michael Saylor, like Semler Scientific, like Jack Dorsey, Bitcoiners. That's who you want to be betting on, because you know that in 10 years from now, they're already seeing what's coming. They're preparing for that, and they're going to have so much future leverage with your money. If you're investing in them, that's what you want. So bet on Bitcoiners. Every stage, every part of your life, bet on Bitcoiners. And even with your relationships, with the businesses that you interact with. If you got two businesses side by side, one accepts Bitcoin, one has a Bitcoin mentality, you know that they're going to do things differently than the restaurant right beside them. Whether that's customer service, whether that's quality of their food, the small things, that's what you want to be focused on here, is the small things that make all the difference between running backs, between restaurants, between companies that you're putting your money into. Focus on Bitcoiners and bet on them. And one of the things I'm going to end the show here in a second. We're going to go follow this up with another conversation about this. But I want you to strongly consider this in your life. If you don't have any Bitcoiners around you, I want you to make that a priority. Get as much Bitcoin as you can, accumulate as much as you can at this stage, but try to grow your Bitcoin friends too. Grow your Bitcoin network. It's a big part of what's coming here. It's going to be the most important part, I think, is your network. So we do have the Living the Future community. We got the Discord channel. We got the Signal group. And there's going to be a lot of amazing things that come out of that community. So if you want to be involved, we're going through this transition here from slavery system, fiat clown world, into a new world of Bitcoin, of truth, fairness, honesty, transparency. That's the world we're moving into. And so you want to find as many people who are already there or working in that direction, and that's who you want to associate yourself with. And we're going to build businesses. I came up with an idea on the weekend, and it's a very long ways away, but it just changes the way that you do everything. And I can speak personally on this, and this is where we'll end it today, I promise. But this is where we'll end it today, because everything that I've been listening to and giving my energy to has really changed my perception on things. Because when I first started King Golf, which is our golf company, just based on the world that I grew up in and the people and the information I took in, kind of my goal there was to grow this thing as fast as I can and to maybe sell it in 5 or 10 years and then do whatever I want to do after that. That's anybody who starts a business. I think that's kind of you have to have a strategy to exit. That's what they tell you, right? That's the whole thing there, is you want to grow this as fast, whatever it takes, grow, inflate if you need to, go as fast as you can, and then sell it to somebody else in 5 years for more. And then you retire. That's like the goal of every business owner, I think. And so going through that, you make different decisions that way. You make very short-term decisions on how you can get your revenue up, how you can make the sale, just do things, take as many shortcuts as possible, and get to that point where you grow your numbers, you sell your business, and you retire. That's the fiat way of thinking. And that's when I got into King Golf. I wanted to do things differently, obviously, but that was kind of in the back of my mind. That's what I wanted to see play out. Is I wanted to grow it. I wanted to get as much as we could out of it and then sell it to somebody else. But since getting into Bitcoin and seeing the difference, the strategy evolved and the time preference change, I look at it way differently now. I want to have great products, high quality products. I want to sell to the right people. So when I'm betting on Bitcoin, I'm all in on this thing. I'm saving my time and energy in Bitcoin. I'm looking for Bitcoiners to grow with and expand my network to, and tailor my products or our products for Bitcoiners. And so everything's changed in my mind. I want high quality products, high quality ingredients or inputs, and I don't want to sell it. I completely changed my mind in terms of wanting to sell it to somebody else. I think that if you have a business or you're thinking about starting a business, go in with the mindset that you're never going to sell it. That's something that you're growing within your family. That's the equity in your family. And if you have kids, when you have kids, they can take that business on or they can decide what to do with it then. I just think that thinking in longer terms like that. And then the other part of that too is that instead of this very fast growth mindset and turning all of your profits into advertising dollars and marketing and Instagram and Google AdSense, instead of putting it in that, just buy Bitcoin with it and find something that you can do, even if it's a small margin. You don't need 100% markup on your items, but even if it's a small margin, take that profit, whatever you have at the end of the month, and buy Bitcoin with that. And go in with that strategy that you're going to create great products, you're going to provide great service. BitX just reset. And you're going to take that money and you're going to buy Bitcoin with it. And then just do that forever. Don't think about selling it in 5 years or positioning yourself to sell it in 5 years. Just create great products, provide great service, take whatever profits you have, put it into Bitcoin. It's very simple. But I never looked at things like that before, because in a fiat world, you make profit. You feel like you have to turn that into something else, or you have to spend it to get a write-off, or to grow, or to, just all the bullshit that comes that's attached to that world still, is because fiat has absolutely no value, no longer term value. You feel like you have to get rid of that as soon as you receive it. So this whole mentality, betting on Bitcoiners, thinking longer term and thinking completely differently within business, I think is going to change everything in the world. And going back to Brian Peckford there, his speech there, he said, it's not about your community. It's not about your family. It's for yourself. You have to do that for yourself. And if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else. So focus your time, your energy on Bitcoin, on Bitcoiners, and grow your network within Bitcoin, because that's going to be the fastest way to remove yourself from that broken, very, very broken system called fiat. Emma T says, did you watch the Peter Schiff and Jack Mallers debate? I did. There wasn't anything that really jumped out. Watching guys like Peter Schiff try to defend their system versus Bitcoin, it just bothers me too much, because he was just talking in a whole bunch of these hypotheticals, and Jack had actual data, actual historical data, but all Peter was playing with there was these hypotheticals of what could happen. Well, if this happens, I think that if this, that's not a way to debate. You have to have actual data. You agree with the data or you don't, it doesn't matter, but you have to have the data. And then you explain why that data will be consistent or different into the future. So it was good to see. I love watching Jack anytime, but I didn't get a whole lot from the debate itself. Muslim Bitcoiner says, I'm always thinking of what business to start other than stacking sats. I want to risk doing or selling something productive. That's what I mean. And that's the whole thing I'm talking about here, is don't overcomplicate things. Just find something that you can do, that you can turn a bit of a profit on, and put that into Bitcoin. That's your strategy. grow naturally. It's going back to this, because this is how I feel the traditional system, businesses are built within the traditional system. You have this idea, you spend a bunch of money marketing it, you pay these influencers, you spend all of this money trying to get your word out there. And you take pictures of your products, you have a beautiful website, you pay a website designer to do all this for you. You spend so much money on it. And I think that once people finally get to the point where they should be turning a profit, they've already exhausted all of their resources, their funds. And so then they die. So what I think is more the better plan, so that you go through all that, some survive, but they just keep feeding that. They need to keep feeding the Instagram algorithm, the Facebook, paying for ads, YouTube ads, all this stuff. They keep feeding that. Whereas on the other side, if you just do things right, if you have quality products, you don't rely on the trickery of the old system, the AdWords, the algorithm, you don't rely on that. You just create good products, you create good content for people, and people will find you through that. If you're producing good content, I think that the benefits of that, the results of that far outweigh anything that you could spend your money on in terms of Instagram ads, all that stuff. I think that's a very old way of doing things. Instead, you should be focused on your content and how to reach people and how to provide, how to relate to them. And I think that that's what people buy from people, not from ads. So instead of spending that time and energy on ads, just find a way to communicate best with your audience, and people will find you. That's what I tell my little brother all the time, because we do our podcast. We try to post consistently, not about our products, but about golf, about the industry. And I said that even when we're sleeping, even when we're doing other stuff, I call them digital soldiers or digital workforces out there. They're finding people. They're getting our content in front of eyes. That's what the beauty of the internet is. It does that. Even if you don't pay for it, if you create good content, people will find you. And when they find you, they buy from you. You provide great service to them. They'll buy from you again. And that's kind of the Bitcoiners' long-term route, I would say, in terms of growing a business. I think we should be looking at this whole thing so much differently than we do. And it's definitely changed my opinion on things. Bitcoin will heal the world. I absolutely agree with that. And most people won't even know that it's Bitcoin doing it. Quality products, quality people, humans are awesome, protocols, not institutions. Yes. Toddy. Great name. Thumbs up. Humble life, offer value to people around you, saving Bitcoin. Things will naturally grow better. Agreed. Strongly agreed. All right, so let's go to the second part of the show here today. We're going to continue this conversation. We're going to leave on the zaps. So you got a choice here. You got three options. Number one, go to the 88 Sats channel. It says join, Bitcoin Journeyman. Join that. You'll have I'm going to put the link on there right now for anybody who's watching. It's going to be on the channel, the link to the second part. Number two is you go on to Living in the Future. If you want a little bit more, you want to grow your network, you want to have other people you can bounce ideas off of, get help from, help others, and further yourself, join Living in the Future. In the description, the second thing down, it says Living in the Future. Click that, you get the second part of the show. Or you can just go over to zap.stream. Three options. So we're going to continue this conversation about businesses, about networks, and about growing ourselves. So if that's your jam, then join us. If not, we'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow morning. And those watching on YouTube right now, I'm going to be sharing the link on the channel, the main channel, and I'm going to be sharing it on the Patreon feed. So give me about 30 seconds here. I'll do that right now, and we'll reconvene then. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the zaps for the dogs, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.